Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Be sure to check out Card Cavern TCGs for all your codes, singles, anything you need Pokemon TCG related. In fact, you can even check out Final Fantasy TCG. Be sure to use code VIXON at checkout for 5% off your order. And if you haven't already, join the Discord server. We're going to be starting tournaments up very soon, and I can't wait to see you there. Alright, so we're going to be commentating over a match between Fossillock and ADPZ. Pat Stevens is playing Fossillock, and Renan Rasset is playing ADPZ. What is Fossillock, you may ask? It's a deck from Team Up to Champions Path, a format that we haven't seen in almost a year now. However, it's actually a very interesting format, which had enough diversity to keep it going. But what was so interesting about it was a lot of decks were very overly reliant on Pokemon G and V, GX and Vs. And that's where decks like Fossillock are going to take advantage of it, because when every deck is running Dedenne and Crobat, that's something that they're not going to be able to get out of very easily, especially if they're just so happen to be locked into the active spot. Alright, so what exactly is Fossillock going to do to get this lock going? So you're going to use Cradilly. Cradilly's ability says if your opponent has a special condition, they cannot retreat. So how do you get that special condition down? You're using cards like Yellhorn, Koga's Trap, things along that line. And meanwhile, you're going to also use cards such as Omastar. Omastar Team Up is going to lock your opponent's abilities, locks your opponent's items, and it prevents them from being able to get out of the active spot even if they can't retreat. Okay, so the Research Lab is an incredibly valuable thing for this deck, and it's honestly the lifeblood. You kind of have to hit a turn 1 or else you are automatically set behind, and at least having that Stadium Nav in the deck is just going to raise that chances of finding it just that little bit more. And now the opponent is going to set down a Mawile GX, hoping that they can bench down Pat Stevens to Dedenne or Mawile or something, just to force him to get some other things down, waste his cards. But instead, he's only going to get a peek at his hand, and he's now going to notice that there's an Altaria there, so he does in fact have to go for the Ultra Creation first thing if he wants to try and take 6 prizes to win this game as quick as possible. Meanwhile, Pat Stevens actually has a lot of options here. With this Pokemon Communication, it means that he can get rid of the Altaria and possibly look at other options. And possibly grab the Omastar. And based on this hand, it actually looks like he could get the lock turn 1 if Renan has to set down another Pokemon, which he likely will because this deck kind of needs its Satients. If he ends up sending down another Pokemon, then there's actually a chance that Metagross Man could get the lock turn 1 if he gets a Boss's Orders off this Pokegear, and then he can grab the Omastar off the Pokemon Communication. He can boss his orders up, either the Dedenne or the Crobat, and Yellhorn, and that's just kind of the game. From there on, he can work with whatever he wants, and that would be an incredible way to end off this commentating. Alright. Okay, so it does not seem that he's seen that route, and he's not even going to attempt the Pokegear. Note to anybody watching, be sure to use your Pokegear when you're about to discard your hand, because even if you're not going to grab a supporter, it's at least going to give you information on what you could have grabbed, and it's going to raise some options on what you could be looking at. Alright, so he's going to Pokemon Communication away this card. He's going to grab himself a Munchlax. Munchlax is also a very important card for this deck, especially because it doesn't run that many energies. So you're going to use cards like Munchlax to be able to get cards from your discard pile back into play. Meanwhile, he's going to use Scoop Up Net to keep this item lock in play. Snack Search is going to prevent his opponent from being able to... Snack Search is going to be searching his discard pile for a card to put back on top of his deck. And meanwhile, okay, so his opponent is going to get the heads on the Confusion, getting the Ultra Creation offer perfectly free. Meanwhile, this Bird Keeper is going to be a free switch into the Munchlax, but can just immediately retreat back into the Altaria. And now, as long as he hits a Boss's Orders... As long as he hits away to force up the Dedenne and the Crobat, or the Crobat, and then he can either poison, confuse, whatever he wants, then this game will be his. Alright, so unfortunately he's not going to go for the Ultimate Ray because he knows he's not going to be able to do any damage, so he just opts to Intrepid Sword and go for that instead. Alright, so another Bird Keeper is going to come out, just retreating into the Munchlax again. And now, because the Mawile has already been used, there's no danger of any of the cards in his hand being abused. But he is trying to figure out what exactly he wants to do here. He is probably likely to just retreat into the Ninetales, into the Altaria, and then Snack Search. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do. He wants to stabilize the lock. If he could bench something, if he could force his opponent to bench something more, it would be pretty good. Especially the information that he's going to get from looking at his hand. So that is a lot of items that they are unable to use currently. And locking it into play is just going to mean that it's a little bit easier to make sure that this lock sticks through. Unfortunately, getting 3 tails on these Snack Searches. Holy crap. Alright, so at this point, he could in fact set something down and use the Giovanni's Exile, just to get rid of the Mawile and remove that target. But otherwise, it seems that he's just going to go for the Cynthia and Caitlyn, just grabbing himself another Bird Keeper, I would presume. Yes, another Bird Keeper. Doesn't exactly want to remove anything from his hand in particular, but still leave some options open. He is going to give himself Yellhorn back next turn. I guess the reasoning behind this is just so that way he can reinstall the Confusion whenever needed. Alrighty, so he's likely to Bird Keeper up his Munchlax, and as soon as he hits a boss's, he's got the Skyla. Skyla next turn can guarantee him a boss's orders. He's going to retreat back into this Munchlax, retreat back into the Altaria, and I think this is just going to be another Snack Search. His opponent's hand had a lot of item cards when we last saw. If they boss, they need heads. Correct, but if he can boss up the Crobat or Dedenne, that will just kind of be game. Alright, so this Skyla is going to start threatening this. And now he needs a way to switch. Amen to that. Alright, Gear. He is going to use the Gear. He's finding himself another Skyla. He's going to use it. He's going to want to use Skyla to grab a boss's orders, just to seal this game in the bag. And there it is. There was only a single one in the deck, unfortunately, but that's 1 in 18 cards, and Skyla's going to make sure that it's grabbed. And unfortunately, there's a Tails on the Snack Search yet again. However, this game is nearly over, especially with what's about to come. Alright, Boss's Orders is going to come out. He's going to be able to boss up the Crobat, and Yellhorn is just going to seal the game. Very well played to Pat Stevens. This is the lock that Fossil Lock always goes for, and it seems that he's hit it A-okay. Now, at this point, I personally would not have discarded the Mew, because Mew is honestly the best way to be doing bench damage safely with this deck. But there's still options abound. And as you can see, Starly is in this deck. What does Starly do? Starly has the Sky Circus ability, which works off of Bird Keeper. So if this Pokemon, if Bird Keeper was used during your turn, you may use any of the attacks that this Pokemon has for free. And its attack allows you to search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. So that's a pretty good attack, especially when you're going to be able to use it for free. He is going to give him loads of options. Getting heads on these Snack Searches guarantees that he's just going to draw into it next turn. At this point in the game, it's all about just preventing himself from decking out first. And Munchlax is going to make that happen. He is going to get rid of it using the Giovanni's Exile, making it even harder for his opponent to be able to get out of this item lock. Unless he runs a Darkness Energy or a Aurora Energy by any chance, then this is basically just game. There's no way for the Crobat to attack, there's no way for the Crobat to do anything in this situation, so he's just going to keep passing. Snack Search is going to come out. he can always just Pokemon Communication one of his Pokemon back into the deck and just kind of leave it there. He only needs 2 heads, and then he'll have the same amount of cards in his deck as Renan. Actually, no, only 1. No, 2. 2, because his opponent will drop to 13 at the same time that he is at 13. However, he will drop to 12 the following turn, so he needs 2 to be able to get ahead of his opponent. But that's still at least 10 more flips. Yeah, and now the dolls are going to prevent him from ever being able to deck out, because he's got access to Recycle Energy, which means that he can attach, retreat, doll, pop the doll, put it on the bottom of the deck, and just send it back up. And now you've got a card in your deck, and you never have to worry about it. He only needs 1 more Snack Search to get aheads. Alright, his opponent is saying, yeah, and that's going to guarantee the game is in his favor. Way to go, Pat Stevens. It seems that he was muted by the moderators. Unfortunately, PTCGO is not so kind at times. Alright. So the Snack Searches, getting all these heads here is going to make the entire difference for this match. Cynthia and Caitlyn does guarantee him that he can just make a decision later on, meanwhile also being able to discard a card that he doesn't want. Alright, Snack Search, and he gets another heads. He's going to guarantee a huge advantage over his opponent's deck. Going to have 11 cards in his deck while his opponent has just dropped to 8 cards left. At this point, the lock is sealed. The only way out is, well, having a supporter like Birdkeeper or Mallow and Lana to get out. However, this is Team Up to Champions Path, and those cards were not used in this format. I don't know why the opponent didn't concede. Well, I would guess that if they're running a Mallow and Lana and provided it's not prized, then they have their way out. But yeah, it all depends on having that card. But yeah. Be sure to check out the Twitch streams. We do a lot of standard, legacy, expanded, custom formats, you name it, we do it. If it has to do with the Pokemon trading card game. I have over 1,000 deck lists where I try to archive decks from 2011 onwards, considering those will actually fit in the PTCGO deck manager. And having access to all those decks means that you can basically challenge me in any format you like. Best deck in format. Amen. Ayy! Metagross Man takes it, and Fossil Lock reigns supreme. Thank you so much for watching. This was Fossil Lock versus ADPZ for the Team Up to Champions Path format. Be sure to check out Card Cavern TCGs, the Twitch streams, my Discord, and smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. Otherwise, leave a comment and tell me what you thought of it. Thank you so much for your input. Have a great day, everybody, and stay awesome.